Hi, welcome. This is the Thursday night Caddy Info Cadillac chat. Fortunately, none of the guys are on, and so I'll keep it very, very short tonight. The I'll just try and do these in 15-second intervals. So try and do the perfect 15-second shot, because I think that's the max you can post to Instagram, where some of the services is 15-second videos. So I'll try and do the ideal 15 seconds of Cadillac news. I'll have to get maybe I can get a timer going on my cell phone, and then I can do 15-second bursts of news and then save them off as individual news stories. The Cadillac was out with sales this week, as all the auto dealers were. Total sales in the industry are very good. They're still projecting that they're going to sell 17 million cars across all manufacturers, which is a very good year. The Cadillac sales were down along with most other luxury manufacturers. Cadillac, BMW was down 6%. I think Cadillac was down 15%. The 16%. Now part of the problem there is Cadillac's down 16% from a smaller number, then BMW is down 6% from a bigger number. So it's even worse than the simple numbers. Part of the thing is Cadillac was caught in, they brought out the sedans, the ATS, the CT6 at a time when they needed to have the crossovers in the market. Mike, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Bruce.
Can you hear me okay?
I hear you. Do you hear me?
Good to see you. I had just explained to people that we weren't going to be on tonight, but now you're here.
I was off at an auction when my phone reminded me of this.
Oh, did you win something good?
No, I was just a buddy of mine told me about a hot tub he had bought, so I went over there.
A hot tub he bought at auction?
Yeah, somebody was remodeling and he was over there buying one, and he told me how great it was, so I had to go see it.
Oh, great. That's what you need in your 9-car garage.
Well, that was what he thought I needed it in
a
my
hot tub
shop. But actually, it was a jacuzzi bathtub. My mistake.
Yeah, when you get too sore from wrenching on the cars, you can just get right in the tub.
Exactly.
That would be ideal.
I have one in my house, and I use it every day.
Yeah, my wife keeps trying to talk me into it, and it wouldn't be a hard sell, except we got to figure out where's it going. And so I think we'd have to put in a deck in the backyard in order to put it in. And so I don't have a good plan yet. So basically Cadillac had come along with the ATS, which they were hoping would sell like the BMW 3 Series. The BMW 3 Series sells about 10,000 cars a month, if you count between the 3 Series and the 4 Series, which is really a two-door 3 Series. So they sold 11,000 of those. Cadillac said they were hoping back in the day that they were going to sell 6,000 ATSs. Now, of course, I always have to remind myself, worldwide, Cadillac does sell 6,000 ATSs, but the rest of them sell in China, where it's quite popular. But in the United States, they only sold 1,600 last month, 1,630. So they're not coming close to BMW sales of 11,000. Of the 3 Series. So what do you think, since the ATS is almost identical to the 3 Series, what do you think Cadillac is doing wrong there?
I think the first thing is it doesn't have the reputation,
It doesn't say BMW on it is the big problem, you think?
Right.
Yeah, I do think that there's some cachet there where people feel like a BMW, buying BMWs. Now, I don't know which of the 3 Series BMW is selling more of that. It's probably the 328s, and then they sell the most of the 328s, I would think, and then the 335 and the fewest of the M3s, one would think. But they don't break them out in their sales figures. Now, the 2 Series for BMW is not doing well. And the ATS outsold the 2 Series. They sold 1,322 of the 2 Series. The 6 Series is not doing well. The 7 Series is not doing particularly well. The Z4 sells about the same as the ELR. and their new i3, their new electric BMW. They sold 696 of those, but that's a little bitty commuter car. I don't know if you've seen pictures of the i3.
No, there's a i8 or something also, right?
There's an i8, which is a nice fancy car, right? But the i3 looks like a little subcompact. It's a $40,000 subcompact. So yeah, that more competes with the Bolt, except it's not big enough to compete with the Bolt, because the Bolt's going to be it's a little bitty car. The i3 is a little bitty car, but so I guess that's a California market car, right? Who's paying $40,000 for a micro commuter has got to be the California crowd.
Got to be, because they expect to pay all that money for everything.
Yeah, well, because having an electric car, the big thing is having an electric commuter lets you ride in a special lane on the highway, right? So if it's on the California highways, which are frequently bumper to bumper, now this thing has an 80-mile battery only range and then 160-mile total range. So I guess it's got a little generator capability, a range extender capability. But yeah, it is not an attractive little car.
Those things, just out of curiosity, do you know if they're going 20 miles an hour or 60 miles an hour, is the time that they're able to operate the same?
No. Yeah, so that's an interesting point, right? Because it takes more energy. We know from physics, that it takes more energy to push the car at higher speeds because of the air resistance, right?
Right.
So, and gas cars are definitely that way, of course, that if you're going 45 to 50 is usually the ideal between miles per gallon and speed, somewhere in that range. Although I think your car and my previous SDSV loped along just perfectly at about 80. At 80, that 6-speed transmission was just lumping along at 2,000 RPM or something. Right. And I always thought that was the ideal economic. That was its natural stride, was 80.
Right.
I don't know on the ATSV. I don't have a good feel for what its natural stride is, but its 8th gear, it has 2 overdrive gears. And so its 8th gear is like down to 0.65.
Those manual transmissions are the same too, aren't they? Where they have an overdrive and another overdrive. 5th and 6th are both overdriven.
Yeah, the 6 speeds are. That surprises me. They should not be. They should be sprint boxes. That's the whole point of getting a manual transmission, is you want performance. And so they shouldn't have 2 overdrive gears. But yeah, I think this GM does weird things with transmissions in my mind, because they came out with the 6-speed that they used in the XDS, the SDSV and the XDSV and the XLRV and the Corvettes at the time. Then they bought an 8-speed to use in the CTS-V Sport. They bought a Lexus 8-speed. And then they came out with the 8-speed for the ATS-V, their native 8-speed that they developed. And now they have a 10-speed coming out that they've developed in concert with Ford. So I think we're only going to see a couple of years of the 8-speeds, and then they'll go off the market and the 10-speeds will arrive.
Surely the purpose of this is to keep it in the power band, or in the, not necessarily the power band, but the sweet spot for gas mileage longer, more often.
Yeah, as you add gears, the cars do become more efficient, because they can get, to the right gear for max efficiency sooner. Now, there is a descending gain to the efficiency. So when you went from 2-speed to 3-speed, that was a big deal. 3-speed to 4-speed, a little bit better. 4-speed to 5-speed, a little bit better. to 6-speed, a smidge better, and to 8-speed, only slightly better, and to 10-speed, not much difference. Because it's reduced, it's descending returns.
Right. Is the gas mileage minuscule difference that important? I mean, is it that hard for them to meet their criteria, or is it performance, or what's the whole purpose of adding all these gears? I mean, it's got to cost more to build a car for what little you're gaining.
10 is more than 8. 10.
That's a new thing, ain't it?
That 10 is more than 8. So that's why. That's why it's better. It's more.
It's like Texas is bigger.
Yeah. Just like Texas is bigger. Not much difference. Now the new transmission shifts faster than a dual clutch transmission. So that's part of the lure. There's also a 9-speed version of it that they're using with the front wheel drive cars. So that's probably the big lure is, you get like a new Malibu is going to have a 9-speed transmission in it. But it also lets you have a wider span of gears, right? So instead of having the gears closer together within the same range, you can actually have a wider range with the same steps. So you don't have to. What would be the
purpose of that?
Well, you don't have to run out of gearing at 150. You can run out of gearing at 225.
Well, yeah, but you got to have enough power to push all that. There's got to be a limit somewhere, don't there?
Yeah, it's somewhat more efficient. I think the big thing that they're doing for efficiency, though, is the start-stop technology that you guys don't like.
Well,
I think that's the big efficiency thing. Well, what we want is once they go to the bigger batteries where you can't tell whether the engine has, that it starts right away. Although the other thing I thought is, as long as I can tell the engine to start before I need it to be running. So God forbid you were racing in the street, because we don't condone that. But if somebody were revving their engine next to me, I want to have the engine running in the car ready to go before the light turns green, right?
Right.
I don't want to pull it and the light turns green and then the engine starts and then I have to wait to go. So
yeah,
as long as I can tell it, hey, we're getting ready to go here, then I think I'd be perfectly happy.
Probably got a start button you can push just like when you started, right?
Maybe.
As long as you're not moving.
That might work in that circumstance, right? I don't, Texas Jim always said, I'm just going to turn that off and that will be the perfect solution.
Yeah.
You can have start stop as long as you put a switch for it right there on the dashboard. I sent our friend Texas Jim a note tonight. Of course, I invited you and Cadillac Jim and Texas Jim and Vinny and KHE and everybody. And our friend Tim Carroll, I think. But I sent Texas Jim a note to his phone to tell him, we sure miss seeing him around. And so if you're out there, Texas Jim, come back home. Come back. Yeah, his family was poorly, and so he's been nursing, I think. But we sure miss you. Okay, so I had some topics for tonight. We talked about the May sales, disappointing May sales. Now, the CT6, what is your projection for how many CT6s Cadillac will sell per month?
3. I don't have a clue.
3. All 3 of them.
Yeah.
Because they did outsell the BMW 6 Series in the first month. So that's their logical competition for the more expensive cars, the 6 Series.
So it's been out a month?
Well, they actually sold some last month. I'm not sure it's been in the dealers a whole month or not, but they did actually sell 600 of them last month. 697. They've sold 1,000 of them year to date. But BMW doesn't sell that many 6 Series. The 6 Series isn't real popular, I guess. Or it's, very expensive. It's very expensive and doesn't hold very many people.
Similar to why...
Yeah, XLR.
We were talking about why they didn't sell so many And I said, because it doesn't have the cachet, so to speak. Well, the big car market, Cadillac's probably American big car market, at least their reputation is there, you know.
Yeah, I think that once people realize the CT6 is a bigger car, I think Cadillac needs to come out with some ads that address that, right? Because the CT6 is this 122-inch wheelbase car, so it's the same size as like the Fleetwood Broms from the 90s, right? Which were big whales of a car, or in old school terms, were full-size cars.
Right.
And so it's got, you know, tons of back seat. It's got 34 speakers. It's a wonderful luxury car. And, you know, this is the ideal DeVille upgrade. For all you DeVille lovers out there, CT6, that's your car. You want a big, and you can get a 400 horsepower twin turbo in it. And it's got every luxury feature. And it's reasonably priced if you've got, you know, $80,000 in your pocket.
Is that twin turbo the same one that's in your car?
No, it is not. That twin turbo is a 3-liter twin turbo making 403 horsepower. And the one in my car is a 3.6-liter twin turbo making 464 horsepower.
Oh, quite a bit of difference.
So that 3 liters, and that one has start-stop, which is the first time anyone's done start-stop with a turbo engine. But that one is a newer engine also. So it's not just a 3-liter version of my engine. It's actually it's like the next generation of my engine, but then 3 liters.
Right.
I'm not explaining it well, but I think that engine is the one that's going to be, so if you made a V8 version of that engine, that's what's coming for the twin turbo V8. And that's going to be the top engine in the CT6 is the twin turbo V8.
You said V8 and that almost sounded like vet. Is that the engine that's coming to the vet?
I think it is. And nobody's saying that yet, but the new mid-engine Corvette, they said has a twin turbo 4-something-liter V8. And so I'm guessing that is the engine that's coming to the new Corvette. Boy, I'm looking around. I apologize. I had gotten some hats in, and I'm looking to see where I put them. I'm going to step off camera, so quick. I'm going to focus the camera on you, and you tell some entertaining Cadillac story, okay?
Righto. Cadillac story. I know
you're not talking.
Stories. Well, I don't know.
You know, Cadillac I can still hear you. You're supposed to be entertaining our audience while I wander around the room looking to see where I put the new hats.
Now you can see why I'm not an entertainer.
Well, darn it, I must have left them downstairs. I am so sad to hear that, but I got the new hats in, and I did put a link to the hats in a thread on the forum about the hats. But what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll link it to tonight's thread. I'll link that picture back in tonight's thread so people can find it without having to go fish for it. So, but these are, they actually turned out very well. I didn't know if they were...
I'll return.
Okay.
We had to get a new air conditioner in the house today.
Yeah, you said your air conditioner wasn't doing right.
Yeah, and the thermostat, now it's lost its marbles and it's programmable and it's unprogrammed now. So it had obviously turned itself up to 78 or something, something I don't want. So now it'll feel better for me.
Where is the topic showing hats? So I got these hats in, and my thought was they show Cadillac certified service on them. So they have the Cadillac emblem and it says certified service, and then they have like a tire tread going across the brim in kind of a black rubber. So my thought was to send these out to our mechanics on the forums, like Sabarzi that checks in and does North Star repairs, and our friend Tim Carroll and so on. But I got a dozen of them, so they're kind of first come first served. First come first served. But my first thought was send them out to the Cadillac mechanics who could wear them on the job and enjoy them.
Right.
Now I did appreciate the guy that I got them from, because they had them on eBay. I now and then I'll go through eBay and I'll just look for a lot of Cadillac. And a lot of times you see, somebody's got 50 keys for sale or they've got whatever, but I'll just put in lot of Cadillac looking for, where can I get, if you remember the Cadillac Bears, and I passed you one of those when we got together, right?
Yes, he lives out in
Bears. The Cadillac Bears came from this search. So I was searching for a lot of Cadillac and they had grosses of these available. And so I got a gross of them. A dozen. I think it was a dozen. And then I went back and got more because people enjoyed them so well. But the same thing with the hats. I was looking for a lot of Cadillac and found these hats on the eBay and sent off for them. They had several dozen of them available, but I said, well, give me a dozen of them and let me see them before we get several dozen of them on my shelf. But yeah, I like to have things that. The other thing I've done with Cadillac hats before is, like on Twitter, when someone said their Cadillac wasn't doing well or they were having a hard time with it or they were unhappy with somebody's service, then I one idea, I sent her out a hat to make her feel better about her life. And people are always kind of like, oh, disbelieving until the hat shows up. And so, but we'll do that with some of the people in the forums. And now one of the things we did with our lifetime members is I sent everybody out a knife, right? A knife escape tool. I sent you a knife escape tool, right?
No, but maybe I'm not a lifetime member.
Ah, there you go. So yeah, I sent the knife escape tools. And this is one of the ones. This was the smaller one.
I remember seeing them when you were talking about them, though.
Yeah, these are actually very nice. And one of the nice things is they're kind of spring loaded, but they have this lever on the back so that you can flick it open. So you can actually reach and get the knife out of your pocket and flip it open with one hand. So if you're holding a box with the other hand, you can flick the knife open and cut open the box. So it's very nice that way. You got to remember, take it out of your pocket before you go to the airport.
Yes, I would think.
But yeah, they have a belt clip on the back. This one is the small version, a large version, and they have the Caddy Info logo on them. So yeah, I accidentally left one of the boxes of knives down at my son's store, and he's been selling them at the store, so I had to frown at him. But okay, so I have a science project homework to share with you. Last night on the Motorama chat, someone asked me to figure out when the last, is this specific? They said in the 1950s and into the 60s, there was a company that was making custom, it was the guys that made the Scarabs and the Chaparrals. Are you familiar with those?
Boats?
Troutman and...
You're not talking about boats, you're talking about a car?
The race cars. The American race cars. These were custom-made American race cars that race with the Ferraris and so on in the 50s.
I don't know about them.
Yeah, so it was Troutman and Barnes. So they made the Troutman and Barnes Special, and then later they made a car called the Scarab, and then after that they made the first Chaparrals. One of them was a machinist, and one of them was a mechanic. And his question to me was, when was the last Troutman and Barnes Cadillac made? But my problem, when was the last coach-built Cadillac by Troutman and Barnes? My problem in researching it is, I don't think Troutman and Barnes ever made a coach-built Cadillac. They made custom-built race cars, and they would do other things if people, they may have done something special order for someone, but they didn't make any line Cadillacs that I can detect. But I'll put this whole thing in the thing and what the question was, and maybe somebody smarter than I am on Cadillac lore. This was a shop that was in Southern California. And so maybe somebody in our community here knows more enough about the Cadillac lore to figure out when the last coach-built Troutman and Barnes Cadillac was.
What's that mean, coach-built?
Custom made.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I'm getting the HTML code to transfer so that it'll show up looking like a tweet in the forum. Oh, the other news I wanted to make sure I mentioned again, I put a post about it in the forum, but we're going to need to go through another forum software update. And so I'll signal them tomorrow morning and get our tech support to go ahead and update the forum. So that'll mean things get scrambled for a minute, and we'll have to redo the skins and redo the graphics and get there'll be some odd behavior. The main thing it sounded like that was going to be odd is right now you can have a login name that's different than your display name, which some people do and some people don't. But you can't anymore. Now I have to either pick the login name or the display name. They're getting rid of that convention. Now, I'm happy for them to get rid of it because I found it just confused people. They would create their login and say they wanted their login name to be, Greg22, and then their display name to be, the Cadillac Pilot or whatever. But then when they went to log in, they put the Cadillac Pilot and their password, and it wouldn't work because that wasn't their login name. And so, yeah, I think the whole thing was a bad idea. But the reason that I think the original intent, their heart was in the right place, because if your display name is different than your login name, nobody can look at your display name and guess your login name, right? So I think their heart was in the right place, but it confused users more than it kept people from logging into their account. We don't have a big problem with people spoofing other people's accounts. We have more problems with, robots logging into the forum and trying to post spam, which is why we have to have now when you join the forum, your first post has to be approved before anybody can see it. Because of that problem, which is off-putting. I appreciate, but it's the only way I can keep but otherwise people would log in and post 100 links to their product in Taiwan before I could scrape them off. So,
right.
Mike, thank you for being, go ahead.
No, speaking of the computer business, mine was so slow tonight, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to participate in this, but seemed to work all right.
Well, I hope it calms down. Maybe you had too many movies going on in the background.
No movies.
Thank you for being on. I'm going to have to keep us to the 30 minutes because I got to go back to work. But it was good to see you, and I'm glad you're on. I'm sorry I missed you the last couple of weeks. And shout out to Cadillac Jim. We're missing you. To Texas Jim. To Vinny. To Kevin. We never have gotten Mike Body by Fisher on, so we'd love to have him on sometime. And all my other car friends. I wish all my car friends would log in and talk to us. I think we can have 7 or 8 people on this chat before it overflows. And so
I'd like to see it happen and see how we successfully did it.
How we deal with that. Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't see, and we do run a Q&A. We can see the Q&A. If you don't have video, there is a way for you to participate just in text chat, and we can see the text chat back and forth. The other thing I'm going to try and figure out is one of our users asked me, can I save off these chats just as an audio file, which would be easier to download? That there's still parts of the world that don't have wideband internet, and so he'd rather just have it, the audio file, like a podcast, so that he could just listen to it. Not, seeing us doesn't help all that much with these chats. And so it could just be a podcast, and maybe we should just do them as podcasts. But I like seeing people, and I think that helps with the conversation.
Right. I like to seeing people. It's just more live.
Now, what I probably need to do, because so many people are on Periscope or on Snapchat, that what I probably need to do is run Periscope while we're running the show, and then we might get questions from Periscope that we can talk about on the show.
Is Periscope a big thing right now?
Yes. And Snapchat's a big thing, although I'm still confused about both of them. But Snapchat, apparently the big thing is you can save. It's not sending a message and then it disappears in 3 seconds. That's not all that impressive. What's impressive is you can record a video and post it as a story. So like last night, Cadillac was opening their new headquarters with the coffee shop, and they posted on Snapchat. So if you search, go to the story part of Snapchat, then they posted a video of the party, live from the party. And so that was actually, so here's the scenes from Cadillac. Can you see that?
Yeah, slightly more towards you. There you go. Yeah, I can see that.
You're going to have to put me on.
And that's on Snapchat?
So that's on Snapchat. You can see this coffee shop and scenes from the coffee shop and so on. I'm sorry, my lighting is not designed for me to do that.
Right.
To do this. But yeah, you can see that going on. They posted that 11 hours ago. And it doesn't disappear because it's a story for them, I think. But yeah, I don't understand. I was doing a Twitter thing, and one of the Stephanie O'Connell was explaining that Snapchat is terrific for businesses and websites, that she uses it all the time and people just love it. And I said, well, I don't even, I get, it's like a IM, except the IM disappears after 3 seconds, or after you read it, the IM disappears. So how does that help me for business? But apparently the theme is the stories that you could post to the story section of Snapchat. And in the story section of Snapchat, you can save, post videos where anybody can come to them and watch them. And because there's a ton of people on Snapchat, like, I guess the kids love Snapchat because of the disappearing text feature, right? I don't want anybody to pick up my phone and read my text.
Oh.
I think it was an anti-parent feature. I like to have my text from my wife so that I can go back and see what she wrote, right?
Right.
Or,
what time was I supposed to be where?
Yeah. What? I still don't speak Starbucks. I go and get her Starbucks, but I have no clue what to say to the barista. And so she sends it to me on my phone and I read it to them because I still don't know which size is venti and how much mocha you need in your, I don't know. So
if it disappeared, you wouldn't be able to repeat it.
No. She tells me, and my mind is very efficient, like a sieve. And so.
Well, I've seen the Periscope and it's live, and that was interesting, but I didn't know it was a big deal.
Yeah, well, Vinny showed us that, right? But now Vinny's gone to Facebook Live instead.
Huh. I've seen that Periscope. I got on there and looked at it a little bit, but I have never heard another soul speaking of it.
Well, now everybody's gone to Snapchat.
I hear them talking about Snapchat.
So it's okay.
Must
You
be.
may have successfully skipped Periscope altogether. But I do see some auto things on Periscope, but now that Cadillac's posting on Snapchat, I think I have to learn how to Snapchat better. And like my dealer Rob sent me a Snapchat one day of somebody driving a new Cadillac off the showroom floor, which I enjoyed. But then after I watched it, it's gone. I can't get it back. Which is the Snapchat, snap, you're done. Yeah, but now the story feature apparently is I want the permanence. And so the story feature apparently will give you that. Thank you for being on tonight, Mike. It was so good to see you. Is your XLRV going okay?
Yes, going fine. I had to get it out and remind myself why I didn't need an ATS-V yet.
Now, I had a fellow from Instagram that I'm still wanting you to help me with. I haven't got him on the site yet. He's from Instagram. He's a gentleman named, do you do Instagram, Mike?
No, and I tried to find a link. I never saw a link to...
All About Craft Beer. All About Craft Beer has been sending me messages on Instagram. There's a way to instant message on Instagram, oddly enough. And he's shopping for an XLR. And
is
so...
After a V or otherwise?
A regular XLR with less than 80,000 miles.
All right, I saw that part about it.
Okay, so I will find the XLR post that I made. It actually starts mailbag shopping for an XLR is what it's called. I must have put it in the XLR forum by mistake.
Oh, instead of general forum.
Boy, I tried searching under mailbag, but we have a ton of mailbag. Let's see if I can put in mailbag XLR in it. But what I'm trying to say is I will go find this thread and put it in the thread for tonight's video. And then I haven't got him on the Caddy Info site yet, but once I get him on the Caddy Info site, then he wants to help. Oh, that's what it is. I put it in the XLR forum. So it's right. It's the first message in the XLR forum. So that's too easy to find.
Oh, look.
Yeah, you should be in there telling us more stuff on XLRs since I don't have mine anymore. You should be.
I can tell you stuff, but it might all be erroneous.
You should be posting your XLR experience. Okay, so if you're watching out there, if you can help me with my homework is to discover when was the last coach-built Cadillac by Troutman and Barnes. And then our other homework is to help All About Craft Beer shop for his XLR. We may need people in different parts of the country to go look at cars for us. So please tune in to that thread, and then we'll see how that develops. Thanks for being on, Mike. It was good to see you.
All right. You too, Bruce.
Bye-bye.
See you next